Hello, everybody. I am back for this Q&A. Been a while, but I said I was gonna do this, so I'm gonna. Quick disclaimer, though. I do still have a little bit of a cold. It will not let me kick it, so apologies for the sniffles and perhaps some coughs you might hear. Also worth noting. I am gonna skip a couple of these for two reasons. One being politics. And I've said like a lot of times I really don't want to get into politics on my channel if I can help it. I will get into that on Facebook a bit. I will get into that on Twitter a lot. But here, nah. And the other one is there are a couple questions about a topic that I think are really deserving of its own video, which I plan on doing. So, with that in mind, we are going to continue. Alright, so. Bane Kills Pilaf asks, did you like the Rocky movies? Oh boy. Believe it or not, I have never actually sat down and watched a single Rocky movie. It is on my list of things to see, but I have never actually found the time to sit down and see it because it's not super high on my list of things to see. I understand that, it's considered to be really good drama and it's not just all about boxing and everything, but boxing is like something that I'm not really into, so that's part of why I haven't really prioritized it, if that makes sense. But I do intend to watch them, and I will perhaps revisit that question later in video form if I really liked or, disliked them, whatever, either way. Alright, here we go. King Nazaru asks, if the Amazing Spider-Man movies continued, which villain would you have liked to be in it? I wanted the symbiote. Honestly, I would be happy never seeing the symbiotes again at this point. At least not for a long time, because so many people want them to rush right to the symbiote because they think Venom is like Spider-Man's main villain. Venom and Carnage are his main villains and they're the best and the coolest and everyone else is so lame, and it's like, that's not true. In fact, comparatively, Venom and Carnage lack a lot of depth that his other villains have. I understand the appeal, and Carnage can be a good villain if utilized properly, but I think he's arguably one of the least usable overall. Venom's okay, but really he kind of keeps walking the line back and forth between hero and anti-hero, and people, like, I don't know. Like, the main reason, though, I keep seeing people want Venom anymore isn't just, to see him done right or to see this or that done right. It's so that they can get to Carnage, and it's like, stop, please. Carnage is doable, I think, and if done right, he could be really good. But he's also a one-trick pony, There's really not a whole lot more to him than kill, maim, murder, bathe in blood, etc. Alright, and part 2 here. Do you agree that, do you agree Star Wars Rebels Season 2 wasted a good opportunity to have Revan come back into canon and teach a lesson, as well as have a talk with Vader / Anakin Skywalker? No, I do not. Revan is a character that I am literally okay with never having back. For one very specific reason. I hate when video game characters, video game original characters, especially like protagonists in an RPG or action game, become canon. And that's Ravan is the prime example of why. Ravan and Starkiller were actually, and it's because they are overpowered by nature, by default. You can't have a protagonist in your game and then have them comparatively underpowered to everyone else because that doesn't sell, you know? So you have to overpower them compared to everyone else who appears. And in Ravan's case, he got taken to ridiculous extremes to the point where he was the most powerful Force user who ever lived, and he was dark side, then light side, then neither, and saw that both sides of the Jedi-Sith conflict were completely misled and was somehow above it and actually taught the perfect way to follow the Force, and stuff like that just got plain friggin' ridiculous, you know? If they ever brought him back, I would want him scaled way, way down. Like way down from what he was in the games and in the lore from the old EU, because he was honestly my least favorite aspect out of like almost the entire franchise. Just the way. So to answer your question shortly, no. No, I do not. I think that season 2 actually handled Vader and Ahsoka and Maul surprisingly well, and that handling seems to be continuing into season 3. Alright, what are your thoughts on Liu Kang and Molina? I'm guessing this is a shipping question. I'm also going to decline to answer that. Wow. Oh boy. It people can ship whatever they want, no matter how weird it is, I suppose. There are just some things, though, that don't make a whole lot of sense, and to me, that's one of them. There are worse examples out there, though. I know that. So, go nuts if you want to, I guess. Okay, what are some of the things you're looking forward to in Kingdom Hearts 3? Well, I'm interested to see how they tweak the gameplay, because I've seen a lot of people say that they have, and it's one thing to see it on screen. It's another to, get your hands on it and experience it. So, I will, definitely want to see how they work with that. Story-wise, something that makes sense. That isn't, like, ridiculously convoluted. That'd be nice. I'm also looking forward to see what all new worlds we get, and which ones come back. Honestly, I would kill for, like, a Treasure Planet world, just because that movie was so good and it's so underrated. And based on some of the stuff I've seen they've already introduced in Kingdom Hearts 3, I think it would actually be an okay fit. So, I want to say that Atlantis, like from Atlantis the Lost Empire, some of the lesser known and unexplored Disney movies would be terrific. I just hope they don't put Zootopia in there. I mean, it would be kind of cool, but at the same time, the furries would like have a field day. So I don't know how to feel about that. I am looking forward, though, to seeing how exactly they plan to break it to Xbox fans. Hey, you don't have a single game before this on your system, but we really hope you go out and buy and enjoy the Xbox One version, But yeah, moving on. Not one of the people who try to say Goku is a moron, but sometimes it's super. I think that okay. This is an example of one of them that I'm gonna pass on because this is once again something that I think is ripe for a video, along with the other questions. I missed this one though, but it is a good question, and it's a legitimate question. I'm gonna say right now, just for a quick answer, I don't agree with that, and I will explain when I do that video. Alright, what are your thoughts on each of the Dragon Ball YouTubers present today? For example, Clemens, Land Black, and Fist Geekdom, 101, Laughing Stock Media, Hail Zion, Rhyme Salads. Okay. I'm gonna say I don't talk crap about people if they don't talk crap about me. So I'm gonna mostly leave it at that. I will say that a couple of these people have said their share of things that I do not in any way, shape, or form agree with, and I think he's kind of way off base. And I think it's also equally ridiculous that, I mean, it's speculation in the end, a lot of it, and to be fair, they say that. I don't agree with it at all. But what irks me more than them are the fanboys, the viewers, who take something that they will even specify 100% is pure speculation, not confirmed, just a theory, and they throw it at me and at other people I know as quote-unquote proof of something. And that irks me a lot more than, honestly, any of these guys do. So, I mean, like, again, I'm not going to talk crap about any of them behind their backs, since I'm sure most of them won't see this video. Some of them I'm okay with, some of them not so much. You know, I have more disagreements with. That's not to say I think they're, you know, douchebags, jerks, etc. No, I mean, this is like purely on a fan basis, so to speak. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about people behind their back, dude. I'm sorry. Alright, here we go. Why are you a hipster? I am most certainly not a hipster at all. I don't dislike things just because they're popular. I don't like things just because they're not popular. I will get embittered toward a series to a point, but mostly it's fans if like they hype up something to a ridiculous level higher than what I think it should be. But I am most assuredly not a hipster. That I can definitely say. I mean, I like plenty of things that are actually pretty popular. Love things that are extremely popular. Like, when it comes to Star Wars, I love the crap out of Star Wars. I really do. Very popular franchise. You might have heard of it. But, you know, there's a lot of mainstream popular stuff I genuinely love, so. And I certainly don't have any of the other hipster-y attributes. So. Alright, favorite NBA teams and players. The NBA, overall, I'm not fond of just because the way some of the rules have gotten, the way some of the players behave, on and off the court, it can get downright embarrassing sometimes. College basketball I tend to like a lot more than the NBA. But I do have a favorite team, which is my home team, the Milwaukee Bucks. Been a long time fan of theirs. I do got some love and respect for the Chicago Bulls. That's a legacy right there. It's also what I think has been a fairly good-natured, if not pretty lopsided, rivalry with the Bucks and the Bulls over the years. I wouldn't say it's like the chief rivalry, but, you know, for either team. But it's a healthy one. For the most part, I will say that when they kind of faced each other in the playoffs, some of the fans, at least, weren't my favorite people in the world. But behavior is as behavior does. Favorite players, Jabari Parker's great. He's a great guy. I think I do not agree with some of what he has said as far as ideologically and politically. But it's only like a couple things. He's a great guy. He's a good role model for the most part. He's a good player. Works hard. I like. Uh, oh God, I'm probably gonna butcher his name, even though I've heard it like 100 times. Uh, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I probably said that so wrong. I'm so sorry, but Giannis is an amazing player, and he actually has further he can develop, more he can do. And the fact that he's this good already, and everybody who has worked with him has said that he's nowhere near close to his full potential, is astonishing to me, and that's something that I have to respect by default. And he's also a really nice guy. Um, got a lot of respect for let's see here, who else? I do respect Derrick Rose to a point. I mean, a lot of perseverance through injury, and then being traded like he was, from the team that he had grown up loving, and it was like his dream spot, and then he gets traded off. He handled that, I think, really well, whereas a lot of players in the past have not handled being traded too well. So I got some respect for him for that. I do have respect for LeBron James's skill as a player. Kevin Durant, but yeah, the NBA I'm not really too big on, so I'm not the best person to talk to about that. Moving on. Do you think Superman the animated series is underrated? When people ask for the best DC animated universe cartoon, people usually go with Batman the animated series or others, except for Superman. Superman's animated series is definitely underrated. I will say that. That being said, I mean, the Batman series was great for the most part, although it did go into some creepy territory later on, thanks to one Mr. Bruce Timm, who, as we all know, is still continuing that creep fest to this day. But yeah, I would say the Superman animated series is pretty underrated. It was a really pretty good depiction of Superman, of Lois Lane, everybody really. It was a really good cartoon. I'm actually surprised more people don't like it. I'm equally surprised though that more people didn't like or don't seem to like, who weren't around at the time, the Lois and Clark TV series, which to me, hands down, is the best live action depiction of Superman so far. I will take that over any of the others. But that's just me. Uh, okay, overall, yep, that's what I'm saving. Should I buy the Dragon Ball manga? You most assuredly should, except the Super manga because it's trash. But yeah, I would definitely buy the Dragon Ball manga. There are a lot of ways you can do it that are actually some of them are harder. Like if you want like individual volumes, you're gonna wind up paying a lot more. Um, the they put out, I believe, the 3-in-1s using the Kanjimon covers. A lot of people like that because it does have that extra page at the end. There was one more page added to that release in the ending. Um, it's like not crucial, but it is technically considered canon. And it's not really present in any of the other versions, but it's not like essential, so you don't need it. I went with the Visbig route because it was the cheapest, and these Visbigs are actually pretty decent quality. The downside is the color pages on the inside. Some of them are full color, others are like a sort of chromatic thing, and they can just look weird. Like Juro, I'm not even gonna lie, looks straight up like dark Indian or black now in those pages. He's clearly not supposed to be, but they colored him that way, and I have no clue why. Another thing you can do is, and honestly, if you're a first time buyer, this route might be the best because it really needs support right now, is to buy the Dragon Ball Z full color manga. Because, I mean, they're relatively cheap. It's like $13 a volume. They come in the form of almost like comic book trades. You know, they're soft covered, they're larger, but they got the glossy finished pages. They got the, and it just looks so freaking gorgeous. And the reason that I say to start there is because if they sell, you see, one of the problems Viz had with the original release, which was only the Saiyan arc, is that very few people bought it. Granted, because Viz, for some reason at the time, did not heavily advertise anything Dragon Ball. I didn't even know it had already come out until they had already canceled it, and then they finally brought it back, and I was so freaking happy. But the Dragon Ball Full Color series, really good quality. If it keeps selling, they'll keep it going. And the reason that I say that, even though it technically starts in what would be quote unquote Dragon Ball Z, is because in Japan, they actually got through the entire, second part of the series, and then they switched to what they are calling the Boyhood arc, and they're putting that out as well. And if Viz sees these are doing well, they're more likely to pick that up and bring it over here as well. And it would be so great to be able to own the entire series, in full color. That would be terrific, and it's just so gosh darn beautiful, So I would definitely say either go that route, or if you think you need that extra page, go the 3-in-1 route, although the paper quality is kind of flimsy, so be careful. Or, if money's an issue, go the Visbig route, because that's like one of the cheapest ways to do it overall. So yeah, definitely go out and buy the manga. Also, you're gonna want to buy Jaco the Galactic Patrolman, or Jacko, sorry, the Galactic Patrolman. I'm sorry, I am so used to Western pronunciation. But Jacko is canon to Dragon Ball. Has a couple of interesting clarifications and retcons that a lot of people like to try to claim are plot holes that really aren't. And it does have the canonical story of Bardock in it. Or at least, I wouldn't say full story, but like a glimpse of Bardock and of Goku's mom. But yeah, I would definitely say buy that, buy Jacko, have a ball. I would also recommend the Dr. Slump manga. It's technically not 100% canon per se, but Toriyama did cross over the two series, so it is to an extent. And it does also explain why there are still dinosaurs in the world in Dragon Ball, despite Beerus having, tried to destroy them at one point. So hey, definitely get those. Maybe get Dr. Slump. There you go. What are the top 5 worst tropes in Frank Miller comics? Oh boy. See, I haven't read enough of Frank Miller's like non-Batman stuff per se. I will say that one of the problems is almost anyone who won't take a hardline stance is depicted as weak or a loser or, you know, someone who caved and is already working with or for the enemy, which is his genuine opinion of Superman at one point. There's definitely the idea that women are like nothing, are like completely insignificant, probably nothing more than sex objects or prizes. And I do say that because I know a lot of people like to make that claim about a lot of things, but in Miller's case, it's kind of true. Like Batman takes on the Black Canary in All Star Batman and Robin, and suddenly, boom, out of nowhere, they're having sex because she's a woman and he's Batman. He also did that with Superman and Wonder Woman in The Dark Knight Strikes Again, where Superman, after taking a nasty beating from Batman, even though all he did was want to come talk, and Bruce agreed to talk to him, only to completely ambush him and depower him and then beat the living crap out of him. Wonder Woman catches up with him, and she's trying to, talk some sense into him, and, talks about the time he approached her, grabbed her, and claimed her as his rightful prize, and so basically it almost implies that Superman sort of almost or was willing to rape Wonder Woman, although it's pretty clear she was willing, which was weird. And then the two proceed to have quite literally earth-shattering sex as they fly through the sky and set off volcanoes, earthquakes, and other natural disasters. He also insisted on trying to keep making them a thing in All-Star Batman and Robin. And then DC, for whatever reason, thought, hey, let's do that mainstream in the New 52. But yeah, he's definitely got women issues in a lot of his work. I will admit to that, at least his older DC work. But I really haven't studied enough of his work overall to be able to say, what tropes are consistently in all his work, if you know what I mean. Alright, so it seems like the feedback on Hit's English voice is very mixed among fans. How do you feel about it? I don't feel about it, I guess. I don't have an opinion because I haven't heard enough of it. And honestly, the direction for a video game is not the same as the direction for a series. So once they get the series and the actor gets a lot more to work with and study and the script and everything and gets coached on how to deliver those lines, that delivery could change. So I'm not going to completely base my opinion of that on video game dialogue. I will say I'm not 100% sure what the big deal is. I don't think it's that unfitting. But, I can't really give a definitive opinion until I see more. So. Okay. For the MCU, would you rather see the Green Goblin be the way he is in the Amazing Comics Ultimate or definitely Amazing? I do not want a hulking, green, fireball-throwing, roaring demon goblin. I don't want that. I don't like that. Because the scariest aspect of the Green Goblin isn't the Green Goblin. It's not. It's certainly not in 616. The scariest aspect, the scariest thing about the Green Goblin is Norman Osborn. Norman is terrifying. Abso-freaking-lutely terrifying. Even without that mask on. He is cold, he is evil, he is calculating, he is completely sociopathic and twisted. I mean, at one point in one of the comics, they actually revealed that he throws kittens, sacks of kittens, off a bridge and waits for them to drown for fun. We're talking about a guy who murdered a bunch of people protesting the demolition of a building that he owned. I believe it was their home. We have a man who invented a cure for cancer and then hoarded it just so he could make a weapon that could finally kill Deadpool if he needed to. He is a very sick, twisted man. Even before he got exposed to that serum, he was a twisted, evil, dark man. He was willing to put out hits on people to protect himself and his company. He framed his business partner for embezzlement so that he could steal his research as his own. Okay, that is the Norman Osborn. That is the Green Goblin that I want to see. Especially because it's that much more terrifying to know that there's an average guy walking around out there on the street with strength comparable, even, matching just about Peter Parker's, Spider-Man's. And you wouldn't know him from Adam. You wouldn't know it was Norman Osborn. If you didn't even know who Norman was, he'd just be another guy. Nothing about him looks like he has that kind of power in him, and yet he does. And that's terrifying. So to answer your question, yes, I definitely want the 616 depiction of the Green Goblin. Or at least mostly that. Which do you think will happen first? A Marvel movie gets critically panned or a DC movie is critically acclaimed? Both of those have already happened. Superman, Superman 2, Batman, Batman Returns, The Dark Knight. I'm assuming, though, that you mean in the DCEU. Well, the MCU already has an overall critically panned film in The Incredible Hulk. I personally think unfairly, because I actually really liked that movie, and I especially loved what Edward Norton did in that movie, and I think it's kind of bullcrap that he got cut for the sake of nepotism, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it's already happened, no matter which way you want to look at it. So, I don't know why people keep asking that question. Thoughts in English dub for Goku Black in the Xenoverse 2? Exactly what I said about Hit. I'm not going to judge it based on a video game performance. I'm just not. So. When was the genre of superhero movies at its worst? Oh boy. This one's hard to say because while there were a lot, there were several eras where they tried to make it a thing. There was the era, after Superman had been big in like the late 70s and 80s where they tried to make it happen. They made a couple Captain America movies. They made they made a Spider-Man TV series and a TV movie. Um, they I believe they tried to make like a few other characters. They made a Doctor Strange movie. Yes, there actually was a Doctor Strange movie back then. Um, and a lot of those were really, really bad. But a lot of it, was, I can't really say it was definitively bad because a lot of what they had to do was, due to the limitations of the time. I mean, even Superman, when you look at it now, is an extremely limited film compared to what we can do now. And I think that kind of spoils it for a lot of audiences. I do want to say, though, that I wasn't, I mean, even while not personally fond of the Superman movies, I could see why people loved them, especially for its time. Um, but I want to say like the late 90s, early 2000s, because there were a lot less excuses at that time, especially for some of the heroes that they were doing. And a lot of those movies, even some that were critically loved, were just plain bad. But see, there was a lower standard for those at the time. And then you have, the Dark Knight comes out, that really raises the bar. You have Iron Man come out, that raised the bar. And people couldn't, the standards started going up. And a lot of the superhero movies back then were just plain bad. The first X-Men was okay. Wasn't super great, but it was okay, especially for something in the late 90s. The first Spider-Man movie, no. I mean, it was kind of, it's just the problem there, I think, was mostly the writing wasn't that great. Which is a consistent thing throughout the entire Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, but that's neither here nor there. Um, yeah, you had the two Fantastic Four movies from Tim Story that were kind of. The first one was blah. The second one was like crap. You had a lot of movies, take a stab at it at that point that just kind of fell on their face and were not that good. Like honestly, if it hadn't been for the MCU happening, we probably would have seen superhero movies die out last decade because just so many of them were, like flopping outright or just not taking off. People were already getting kind of fatigued with the whole thing because there just weren't too many that were good. Even the critical acceptance, it's like they had a lower standard for those and they openly admitted it. And some don't want to abandon that standard and they actually dock points for these movies to try to be, in their own words, more than they have any right to be, or trying to be too much, or trying to be too serious, or it's so yeah. The worst era for superhero movies was actually pretty recent. All right. What's the most disgusting meal you've had? Fried Brussels sprouts and hamburger. When I was a kid, no seasoning, none, nada. Didn't even drain the grease. Babysitters. All right, we're getting close to the end here. What's your opinion on the casting for the young Han Solo film? The kid playing Han, I'm gonna give a chance to. I haven't seen him in much. But he definitely, from what I've heard him say, has a lot of respect for the character. He understands the weight of the role he's been given. He's going to do his best to give it justice, so I give him credit for that. Amelia Clark was recently announced, and she's going to be terrific. Because, well, she always is. She's Donald Glover as young Lando, though. That is frigging perfect. I was actually jokingly saying if they're going to have young Lando, needs to be Donald Glover because he can play that part. He definitely was a good fit for that part. And then they actually went and did it. So I'm actually pretty happy about that. But yeah, overall it's shaping up pretty good, and I actually am looking forward to it. Alright, what's your opinion on Suicide Squad? Crap. Like, honest to God, just crap. It did not feel like a good movie. The going into the trailers even, it did not look like a good movie. Seeing the clips that were released, it did not look like a good movie. Jared Leto's Joker looked incredibly bad, just visually, and then performance-wise. I find out that, like, holy crap, how are they writing this Joker? Because that is not the Joker. And I know everyone likes to say, "Oh, hop on that special extended edition because it gets so much better." First of all, half y'all saying that were trying to hype this up as a 10/10 movie before that edition came out. So, what, now you're trying to admit that it had flaws and it needed to be better, and now it's a 10/10 movie? And it's the same thing with Batman v Superman. That was a perfect movie until the extended edition came out, and then that was the perfect movie that improved on the flaws in the original. Like, God, fanboys, chill. They're not good movies. I'm sorry, they're just not. Alright, it looks like we have one more question here. Would you rather have the power to fly or be invisible? Fly. Easily. Could travel wherever I needed to go. Wouldn't have to spend ridiculous amounts of money on a plane ticket. Could go whenever I wanted. Definitely flight. I know people are going to say, well, if you were invisible, you could sneak on the set. No, you couldn't. I mean, you could, but you're still too limited, you know? And invisibility is all you got going for you. Nothing to augment that. So you still have all the limitations of a normal person. You just can't be seen. Which, in the right, you know, scenarios is useful, but to the common person, nah. You know, flight's definitely the way to go there. And that will do it this time. Yeah, that's it. So, thank you all very much for the questions. I hope you got the answers you were looking for. There were, again, a few questions I did skip because I feel that it does warrant its own video. Might give my throat some time to heal up a little bit before I try to tackle it, though. But, yeah, that'll do it for now. Thank you very much for the questions. for those of you who participated. And I will catch you all later. See ya.